The challenging thing with the direct sales industry is that sometimes you can feel like I'm just here doing my little bit on my own.
Yeah.
You have to be purposeful in becoming a part of the team and a part of the bigger community to actually realize that there is so much more potential. It's not me doing it on my own. It's me doing it with other people who are also doing it on their own, and therefore we're doing it together.
Well, hello and welcome to the Direct Selling Accelerator podcast. Whether this is your first time joining me today or you are returning to listen to another episode, I am so excited that you're here, and I am excited for this amazing guest that you're going to be listening into today. If you're wanting to grow a business, whether you've been in the industry for a long time, whether you're just starting out, or whether maybe you're considering stepping into a business in the direct selling industry, you are in the right place today. Let's not sugarcoat it. Growing a business comes with many challenges. Sometimes those challenges are the business itself, sometimes they are you and your own learning curve, and sometimes they're the industry and the world around us. In this episode, I interviewed the amazing Zelia Malherbe, who has been in the direct selling industry for over 16 years. She started her business with Norwex and has grown her business from being someone who is a self-confessed introvert through to becoming a leader of many, many people. Zelia shares some of those ups and downs along the way, and most importantly, how she re-steers herself to be the best version of her that she can be to grow the business that has supported not just her, but her entire family for all these years. I know you're going to love her honesty and her wisdom. But today, I really encourage you, grab a pen and paper and write down the things that you can take from this and implement yourself. Zelia shares some very honest learnings that she's had along the way about not just how to grow a business, but how to be within herself. And I know you're going to find this very inspirational. So sit back, grab yourself a cup of tea or coffee, enjoy this episode, and remember, it's not what you learn, it's what you do with what you learn that counts the most. So enjoy the episode, and thanks again, Zelia, for joining me and sharing your incredible knowledge and wisdom today. Well, hey there, and welcome back to the Direct Selling Accelerator podcast. I'm your host, Sam Hyde, and I am so privileged and excited to be joined today by the beautiful Zelia Malherbe. Welcome on in, and thank you for joining me today.
Thank you so much, Sam. I'm excited to be here.
I'm pumped for this conversation because, Zelia, one of the things that I know a lot of our audience, our listeners love to know more about is how to run a successful business in the direct selling industry, or a successful business in general. And it's great to hear from the corporates, and it's great to hear from other experts, but it's one thing to also hear from someone who is on the ground and doing this for themselves. And now you have been a leader with Norwex. You've been with them for over 16 years now. Is that right?
That's correct, yes. Yeah, I joined in 2009. So, yeah, it's been 16 years.
And so what did that look like? What did the decision-making process look like for you? Why enter the direct selling industry? Was it something that you knew you would do, or was it kind of something that just happened? What did that journey look like?
Absolutely was not something that I knew about. I didn't even know about the direct sales industry, to be honest. So I'm from an accounting background. And when I saw Norwex the first time, I kind of thought I'd playing with this for a little while. My kids were really little. We had only just immigrated from South Africa. We were only in the country for 6 months. And I saw it as an opportunity to make a little bit of pocket money while the kids were really young, and I'd get a real job when they go to school. It grew slowly and consistently. And in my first year, I achieved the incentive trip. And I think attending my first conference was the thing that made me think, hang on, there's something to this. This could actually become that real job. Because I could see that it's a real business. There's real women earning real incomes and making a difference. So I really think that was the turning point for me when I realized that maybe I don't have to go back to a 9 to 5 job, and that this could become that full-time income for me, allowing me to be a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah, awesome. I love that conferences and conventions do that. What was it about the conference that had you sitting there going, actually, the way I see this business has changed. Maybe this can be a lot bigger than I thought. Was there a particular moment or certain people that you met? What was that moment like for you where you realized this was where you wanted to be?
It could be that part of it was the recognitions to see
Mm-hmm.
what women who are already doing the business, what they are doing and the sales that they are doing for a full year. Because I joined in end of April, beginning of May, and our conference that year was in September. So it was fairly soon after that, you know. So I think that's partly seeing the potential that this business could actually do. Because the challenging thing with the direct sales industry is that sometimes you can feel like I'm just here doing my little bit on my own.
Yeah.
You have to be purposeful in becoming a part of the team and a part of the bigger community to actually realize that there is so much more potential. It's not me doing it on my own. It's me doing it with other people who are also doing it on their own, and therefore we're doing it together.
Yeah. It's a funny thing that you say that. Obviously over the last 5 years, we've seen a big shift in conferences and conventions. Some companies still to this day have not gone back to having conferences. How important do you still feel conferences and conventions are to this industry and growing a successful business? Do you think they still have a place?
They are imperative. I wouldn't be able to go without conference. We're lucky that we have 2 conferences a year. So we have our annual conference in August, and then we have our leadership conference in February. So I kind of say it that way around because it's the big one and the smaller one. But it's those conferences that fill me with inspiration again. Because again, when you're just in your office and just doing it on your own, it's easy to lose motivation. Where going to those conferences, you're connecting with your community again. I'm seeing my friends, because the women I've worked with over the past 16 years have become my friends. And I get together with team who I normally don't see outside of conference because I have team across Australia and New Zealand. So conferences, I wouldn't be able to do this business without that.
Yeah. They are such a special part of what makes this industry what it is. I don't know if I told you this, but the Norwex convention in Australia was actually the very first, I think one of the very first, probably not the first, but one of the very first ones I ever spoke at when I started keynote speaking. And I still remember that one vividly. And it was such a beautiful event to be at. So, full circle, here we are today. But one of the things I was wondering, in what you were talking about before, about that time where you realized this was what you wanted to do, it was going from a hobby into being a real business. Did that feel like a natural transition for you? Did you just, go stepping into this space and telling people and talking to people about what you had and what you did? And, did it naturally come to you and feel like a great fit right from the start when it comes to speaking about your business to others?
No. Being an accountant, I'm also typically introverted.
Yes.
So initially I was petrified to do these parties. I still remember that first party. I was shaking like a leaf. I dropped my notes and it felt like a complete train smash. But, every party just gets a little bit easier. You get a little bit more confident. And it ended up me having to, as I'm driving to a party, to almost make that conscious decision. I'm putting on this jacket of confidence. I can do this. And I just need to become the person who I need to be able to do this job. So it certainly didn't come naturally. I really had to work at it. As I said, my kids were little at the time. So I had my presentation printed out and lying on the car seat next to me. So wherever I was driving, I was speaking out loud or doing my presentation. My poor children, they probably knew it off by heart as well, but they were babies, so that's okay. So no, it didn't come naturally. I really had to work at it, but it is worth it.
Yeah. So I do remember you saying that when we first met that you were an introvert and you don't stop being an introvert, but you made a conscious decision. I love that you said that you would consciously put on that coat of confidence. I once interviewed someone on this podcast who said that you can borrow confidence from someone that you admire or that, is a mentor for you, whether it's, they know they're a mentor or not, but someone that you admire who is where you want to go. And I love that idea that you would be driving there and just consciously making that decision because, I think a lot of people make the decision that that's just how they are. I'm an introvert and I don't feel comfortable with this, therefore I'm not going to do anything with it. But you actually used it and grew yourself into becoming, quite an incredible and inspirational leader to your team. So, that's pretty amazing that you did that.
Thank you.
One of the things that you said in our first meeting, you were very honest, and I really appreciate that. And I really want to speak into it today because I'm sure it's something that a lot of people are feeling right now. And so let's kind of unpack this a little bit. Something you said was that the things that used to work don't seem to get the same results anymore, but that the core work hasn't actually changed. Can you unpack that tension for us that you've noticed in the industry and in your business?
Sure. I find that in running my direct sales business, there's certain things that over the past 16 years haven't changed. The way we do things may slightly change, but the core of it stays the same. And I always say to my team, this is a simple business. It's not easy. It takes hard work and determination and perseverance. But if it's not simple, you're doing it wrong. I've learned that when things feel heavy, when it's not working, our instinct is to overcomplicate it, add more stuff to it, right? But every time we come back to simplicity, the business stabilizes again. At the end of the day, this business is built on personal relationships, on connections. So whichever word you feel comfortable with or whichever word your company uses, but it comes back to book, sell, recruit. That's what works. And times have changed. People respond differently. And we have to find ways to adapt to it. But if we focus on book so that we can get in front of people, sell and recruit, this business will stay successful.
Yeah, so good. What would you say are some of the things that you typically see people overcomplicating right now that need to be dialed back a few notches? What are some of the common mistakes you're seeing?
I think heavily relying on social media, hoping that blast as much information out there and hope that something will come back to you. Mm-hmm. It's like using a megaphone and hoping that someone's going to listen to you standing on a street corner rather than going to that friend you've spoken to or a new connection or, friends, your children's parents to go and have a chat to them and actually talking to people, really connecting with people rather than going out there to try and identify a handful of people you can reach out to and ask them for help to grow your business.
Yeah. Awesome. And, I know that words are really important to you and you're fairly careful as to how you speak, not just to others, but also to yourself. What are some of the questions or language that you tend to come back to when things feel heavy? Because I know even as a leader, you can go through challenge and struggle and frustration as much as the next person, right? It's not that leaders find it easier, it's that you've got different strategies in place that help you overcome those. So when things feel a little heavy, when they're not working the way that you want them to, what are some of the things that you go to and the language and questions you ask yourself?
You're right. I'm very conscious of how I speak to myself. Because we can be our own worst enemy. So when things feel heavy, I come back to questions like, what can I actually control today? What's one simple action that I can take that can change the situation? What is still working, even if it is small? What are the things that are still working? I also try to replace pressure language of I have to or I should with curiosity to say instead, but why isn't this working? What can I learn from this? And then I also remind myself that consistency over time matters more than intensity in one season. So I would rather do consistent small actions than have a week of putting everything into it, and then it feels like I'm not getting anything back, and then I stop. So that consistency is a lot more important than intensity.
Yeah, I love that. And, one of the things that you, I guess a question that you prompted me to ask just as you were saying that is, you mentioned at the start, you've obviously got an accounting background. Now, I've got a few very close accountant friends, and I know that systems are something that they love. They are very passionate about it. I know that you are a very organized human being as well, Zelia. And so I would love to know, what are some of the systems that you feel have helped you, that you've implemented in your business that you use, that are really important? I know some can just be a preference, but what are some of the systems that if you were advising someone who was starting their business today, that you would tell them to get into place?
I feel those are almost two different questions, because whether it's my systems or systems for someone starting out. So I'll answer the second part of your question first. If it is someone starting out today, I would advise them to take 20 to 30 minutes and spend that time consciously on their business every single day. So whether that means picking up the phone, I know we live in 2026, but still picking up the phone and having a conversation with someone to tell them, I've just joined this company, I'm so excited about it, and this is why. And would you be interested in having a party? Because I'd love to show you, to actually have that conversation. Now, because again, so many new consultants will group text or send out messages on Facebook. Hey, I've just joined this company. If you'd like to find out more, let me know. And that's something that early on, Belinda Ellsworth, who's an amazing direct sales trainer, she always says, let me know is not a question, So to pick up the phone, make those phone calls, spend the time to make a list of everyone you know, because once you start writing out a list of names, it's like dominoes falling over, right? You think of the next name and the next name and the next name. So set time apart, almost set a timer on your phone for 5 minutes and see how many names you can write down of people that you know. Not people who might be interested, just people that you know. Because you can come back to that later and then divide them into, shall we say, groups where your scripting can change from one group to the next. So advice for a new person starting out is really just that consistently working on your business every day, not intensely for a week and then stepping back and doing nothing for 3 weeks, but consistently every day doing a little bit.
So good.
For someone who's been in the business for a while, so more applicable for me as a leader, some of that remains the same because it's always personal business first, right? So some of those actions I still need to take, yes. But then it also comes into reaching out to your team and making sure that you're looking after the connection with your people as well.
I love that. So valuable. And it's the simple things, right? Like what you just said about doing those personal reach outs versus putting that broadcasting message out there on social media. So much more effective, but it also feels so much better to deliver that and reach out and say to someone personally, hey, I'm excited. I just wanted to tell you about this. Would you be interested in supporting me or having a party or checking out, some of the products? Is a simple question. It's not pushy. It's not houndy. But the most important thing is that it's personal and it has a far greater impact than those broadcasting messages that for whatever reason, I think some people still think are effective. I don't think I've seen that effectively work for a very long time.
And I think it's quite ironic that people think it's the less pushy way to go when in fact, as you just said, it's having that personal conversation. If I pick up the phone and talk to you as my friend, there's nothing pushy about it. It's a lot more pushy to just do a social media blast than it is to have that personal conversation. But people kind of get it the other way around in their heads.
Right. I actually think of it a little bit like going to a dinner party. And if you went to that dinner party and you walked in the door and someone came up and said hi and you got chatting, you might naturally share with them, oh, I've just started this great new business and I'm so excited by it. And you would have a natural conversation. But putting it on social media to me is like walking into that room, standing on the dining table and asking everyone for their attention and then telling them that you want them all to know about your business and they can come and see you throughout the night if they're interested in knowing any more. Like, you wouldn't
For
do it
sure.
at a dinner party. Why would you do it on social media? You're still dealing with humans after all, right?
That's right. Yeah, I love that.
So
That's a
one of
great
the
visual,
things
Sam.
I know, I like a good visual, right?
For sure.
One of the things that I know you and I got chatting about when we caught up last was around, motivation. We all go through seasons, and I think for a lot of people right now, the industry has shifted. The way that we do business has shifted. You've already talked about that. The methods that we use has changed. Yes, we've got social media and technology, and, people are responding very differently now to the way that they did, 6 years ago when it comes to invitations and being sold to. And so sometimes that can feel a little bit deflating. I think sometimes we go through seasons where we can feel a little bit demotivated. Results might be slower and we need to adapt a little bit. How do you consciously choose your attitude when motivation is feeling a little low, but you still need to inspire others? Because you, like me, like everyone goes through this, right? But we still have team to inspire and motivate. What do you do personally when you're feeling a little like that?
I try to not rely on motivation because it comes and goes.
Yes.
Yeah, it's easy after attending a conference or a convention because motivation is high, but it does go away again. So don't roll your eyes at me, but I do rely on disciplines and systems and clarity of purpose, because on the low days when I don't feel like it's working, I don't have to rely on how I'm feeling. I just ask myself, what's the next action? What's the next step that I need to take? What's on my list to do? Who can I encourage today? What's one conversation that could matter? Because if I have a good conversation with someone else, that automatically motivates me again to do more in my own business as well. So, of course, I give myself permission to be human and to, mope around a little bit, but I try to not let discouragement allow me to make decisions. It's not always easy, but I try to not let those feelings run the business. I've learned that consistent actions, especially when you don't feel inspired, that's what builds trust and momentum and long-term results. And often, that thing about when you don't feel like going to a party or to an event or a dinner party or a thing that you have to attend, you normally enjoy it even more. And I experienced that on the weekend. I had a demonstration, and honestly, I did not feel like going. But from the moment I arrived there and I stepped into my host's house and I started chatting to her, it was just like that feeling was back. Like, I loved it. And it was so good to connect with everyone and see the wow factor for them to experience these products. So if I relied on my feeling about going before I went, I would have lost a lot in terms of self-motivation after that, because I left on a high. So, we kind of have to just set those low feelings aside and push through, because then we'll experience the high after that.
Yeah. And it's a really good reminder. I love that you use that example of the weekend, because it's also about the ask, isn't it? Sometimes we feel like we know what someone's going to say before we ask the question, and so we don't ask it. But you never know what's going on in someone else's world. And it's why it's so important to consistently show up, because it might be the very day that someone needed to hear from you or they were ready for you, that you allowed that self-talk to get in the way of you asking the question or sharing with them something you were excited about. And people are going to be consistently approached by people every day, right? So if you're not the one showing up, someone else is going to. So yeah, I love that you shared that. And it's a good reminder as well that just because that's how you feel in that moment doesn't mean that needs to be the outcome that we receive in the long run. So, Yeah, really awesome example with that. You know, you've been in this industry now for a long time. You've seen the industry go through a lot of shifts over that time. How do you feel about the future of the industry now? What would you love to see change, and what are you excited about?
Um, what would I like to see changed? I would like companies to continue focusing on simplicity and
Yeah,
long-term leadership development, because as I said earlier, yeah, the longer we're in this business, we can tend to make it more and more and more and more complicated. We add more layers to it. And
yeah,
suddenly you get to a point where you're inviting someone new into the business and it's just so complicated that you almost
yeah,
don't even know where to start to
yeah,
introduce them to it. Because, I didn't know anything about the direct sales industry when I started, but then I learned more and more and more and more about it.
yeah,
And then suddenly it's almost like I have to dump all of that onto my new
yeah,
person. So I
yeah.
really would love for companies to just keep it
Keep it.
simple,
Yeah.
to help people build sustainable businesses rather than quick wins,
Mm,
to not focus on the quick wins, but rather to have that long-term sustainable business,
yeah.
to have clear, effective systems. Sorry, there's that systems word again, but that's what works, right? Um,
I love it. I think it's important. Yeah.
Yeah. Good communication as well. I think that's really important, from the company to the consultants, but within your team as well, to have really good communication and
Yeah.
strong support structures, because that makes a huge difference to retention and confidence.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a really good point. And simplicity, in a world where things have become very complicated and they are complex, we're dealing with a lot more technology. Companies are investing in a lot more supportive IT, and so it can get very complex. And I think we see a lot of companies trying to adapt and trying to grow by developing more and more and more tricky products, etc., and new ranges. And that's all great when they serve, but the problem is that, as you said, it's the communicating it to new people, and if it's too overwhelming, they don't do anything with it, right? So I think that's a really good
Exactly.
point.
Yeah.
What are you excited about? What are you're still in this industry, so looking forward, what are you excited about over, say, the next 3 to 5 years, and what do you think is going to happen, or how do you see the industry developing?
And I'm excited to see maturity in leadership for people like me. I've been in the industry for a long time, and I'm seeing more and more people not just join the industry for a season, but staying with it through all seasons of life. And
Yeah.
that's something that I never expected from this industry. All other careers, and I know that's not quite the case for our young people today anymore, but when we started out in our careers, you kind of expected to be in that for your lifetime, right?
Mhm.
I know today's kids expect that they will move through different careers, but it's kind of the same with the direct sales industry. That majority of people joining a party plan / direct sales company, they don't, like me, they don't expect to join it and be there for the rest of their life. They join it
Yeah.
for a specific purpose or for a specific season in their lives. And I'm loving that I am seeing more and more people who are there for the long run, right? That
Yeah.
my kids, my youngest just finished school last year, and I joined when they were babies. And through those seasons, there were so many things that changed. But this was surprisingly the one constant in my life, right? Norwex has always been there through the ups and downs of babies and toddlers and then going to school. And throughout that all, I could still continue with Norwex because I could simply adapt my business to suit my
Yeah.
lifestyle.
Yeah.
Um, I love that I'm seeing people stay in the business. The tools will keep on evolving, the tools that we're using, but the opportunity to build that meaningful business will always be there. We just have to adapt with it.
Yeah, so good. And I agree with you. I think there's a lot of very exciting things to look forward to in this industry. And you use the word adapt. It's very important because, as you said, things haven't changed as far as what makes this industry special and the fact that it is a human first business. But what has changed is the way that we make those connections, and the opportunities have grown, right? Once upon a time, we only could ever deal with the people that we could speak to one to one. Now we've got a never ending opportunity to reach people we would never have been able to reach before.
Yeah,
But it doesn't make it any less human or personal. And that's where there's got to be a fine balancing act, right?
for sure.
Um, One of the things I notice about you is that you seem to be very focused on your own stature and development. So you go internal when things are tough. What can I do? You made the comment before that you don't necessarily get to control everything, but you can control the way that you respond to certain circumstances. What I would love to know is, from a personal development perspective, is it still important to you to prioritize your own development? And if so, what do you do to make sure that you're continuously growing yourself as well as your team?
Personal business always comes first. If we're not looking after our personal businesses, um, the business actually can't continue without looking after our personal business. So, I believe that I should be practically involved in the same things that my new team members are doing. Because if I'm not out there doing parties and talking to customers and doing customer care and sending emails, follow up conversations, all of those things, how am I going to train that? How am I going to support my consultants who are struggling with things if I have to come from a theoretical point of view, not being able to say to them, well, the other day I had a similar conversation and this is what I did. Where I can't say to them, well, 3 years ago I had that conversation. I have to stay in the business. So leading by example is something that I 100% believe in. I think there is this, together with the stigma of direct sales, there's also this misconception that you can work really, really hard, build a big team, and then you can sit back and just earn the money. That doesn't work. Like, that's just not the reality of it, right? If I don't continue working in the business, I cannot lead my team. And to me, that's the most important thing, is to be able to lead my team by walking hand in hand with them. I can't lead from the front and not walk with them, and I can't lead from the back either and just push them. I have to walk side by side with them and do the same things that they are doing.
Yeah, so good. And, when it comes to growing yourself as well, so, personal development, etc., do you, read, do you do courses, do you, have a coach? Is there anything that you do personally to ensure that you're always showing up as the best version of yourself that you can?
I think there's a lot of things that I do that kind of has just become a part of who I am and what I do. Over the years, I have had different direct sales coaches, and each one of them, even some of the things that I've already said, is from those coaches. And I always say to my team that it's so important for us to have coaching calls, because you'll put a problem in front of me and we'll discuss it. And then when you're actually dealing with that situation, words are going to come out of your mouth that you kind of want to go, where did that just come from? But it's because we've had those conversations and you've heard me say it, and now it's come out of you. So it's really so important to have a business coach of some shape or form, right? Whether that means your upline, whether that means your regional sales manager, or the person from head office that you are talking to, or whether that means an external business coach. It's really important to always have a mentor that you can connect with, and not just when things are tough, just on a regular basis. I have weekly calls with my top leaders, and it almost is just a chat. It's not a formalized meeting as such. we just have a conversation. But that supports my business and their business because we really are supporting each other. The business coaches that I've had have been life-changing for my business. An example of that, I was coaching with a lady quite early on, and we had quite a significant family change where my husband started working away, and with 2 toddlers and no family support, I just couldn't see a way forward. It was, and remember this, I don't want to sound old, but this is before online parties, right? It just wasn't possible, I thought.
It wasn't that long ago, to be fair,
I
Zelia.
know, right? But her advice then to me was, don't quit, restructure. Just change the way you're doing things.
Yeah.
And had it not been for that, I wouldn't be here today. So, yes, I do still have mentoring sessions with our head office staff. And some days it's very much throwing a tantrum and getting immediate help. And other times it's just support and it's conversations about how we can make this better together. But you can't go without those weekly, or at least for me, I find weekly check-ins work really well, so that we can stay motivated to do more. I do read as well, leadership development books, and listen to podcasts that can help inspire me, because as you said, motivation can easily wane. But if we're doing those things, to read, to have conversations with mentors, to listen to things that can inspire us, and then of course to take action and doing the things we should be doing, then I think we can stay on top of it. Mm-hmm.
Amazing. Well, that kind of leads me to my next question. I've got 4 questions I love to ask all of our guests when they come on this podcast. And the first one is, what is your favorite book of the moment? So I used to say, what's your favorite book? But I feel like we've all got lots. So what's your book of the moment that you'd like to share?
Even though you're opening it up to book of the moment, I still feel that I have 2. Atomic Habits by James Clear reminds me that consistency compounds. Small action done well over time, that's what matters. And then Let Them by Mel Robbins. It's a must read for leaders, because we can't control other people's choices. And letting go of that frees up our energy and clarity in leadership.
Yeah. My husband is actually reading that one right now, and I know he's finding it a very challenging read. So he's getting very frustrated. So obviously is having a great impact, which is good. So favorite quote, Zelia?
My favorite quote is, "If it's to be, it's up to me."
Ooh,
I have to make it happen.
Yep. Oldie but a goodie. And if you could have a superpower, any superpower, what would that be and why?
It would be to see other people's potential really clearly and to reflect it back to them so that they can see it in themselves too. Because a lot of the challenges in this business is because people don't believe in themselves. So
good.
As a leader, it's important to me to believe in my new team member before she actually believes in herself, and then to help her to see that reflection.
Yeah. Oh, so valuable. I love that. That's a great one. And last but not least, if you could go back in time and say one thing to your past self, what would that be?
That I don't need to have it all figured out. I just need to stay consistent and trust that the small little things that I'm doing every day is building something bigger over time. And that it is on the job training this. Yeah, you don't have to know it all to be able to start. Just start.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and it's so true, isn't it? So many people think that they need to have it all together and know all of the information before they can share any of it, but it really comes from the heart and it's what you're passionate about, right?
That's right.
So if we could finish off with you leaving one thought or sharing one piece of advice to our listeners today, knowing we've got people from right at the beginning of the business through to people who are feeling a bit flat and stagnant right now, and maybe people who are leading big teams. You said that, if it's important that you see the potential in others. I know you're really passionate about growing others. So if you could leave one message for those listeners today that might shift their thinking, inspire them, or just put a smile on their face right now as they grow into 2026, what would that be?
The direct sales industry has been around for a really, really, really long time, and it will be around for another really, really long time. So even though things are hard, we just have to stick with it and utilize the people around you. Don't try to go at it alone, because that's the hardest thing, is feeling like you are alone. So if you are feeling that, reach out to the people around you. You may find that they're going through the same things. That doesn't necessarily give you the answers how to fix it, but it makes you feel less alone. And then you can work together so that you can do the things, the small, consistent actions that will help to get you out of the rut that you may be in.
I love that. Thank you so much, Zelia, for joining us today. I know that this episode, I'm sure, will be quite impactful for many people who need a little bit of just a mindset shift as they go into 2026 and grow an amazing business. So thank you so much for inspiring and sharing your wisdom and knowledge from over your years in the business. We really appreciate you.
Thank you so much. It's a privilege.
Yeah, and super excited to see your business grow and do amazing things this year as well. So thank you for joining us. And of course, thanks to our beautiful listeners again for tuning in. Make sure that you take something and implement it off the back of this episode. Implementation is the key. And also, don't forget, if you love this, please hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any upcoming episodes. And if this episode has spoken to you, share it with a friend and help us spread the impact. But thank you again so much, Zelia. Have an amazing day, everyone. Bye for now. Thank you for joining us in this episode of the Direct Selling Accelerator podcast. If you love listening and you found that this was helpful for your direct selling business, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also check out the recommended video that's popped up on your screen right here. I look forward to seeing you again next time. Bye for now.